All right, here we are again. August 29th, 2013. We did 2 podcasts in 2 weeks. That's the world's record. But, that's because we were gone for 8 weeks and Justin just misses me. So the only time he sees me is in the studio. We have this thing going,
What's up, guys?
But there's still a lot of stuff to talk about. Pool's kind of in interesting times these days. Well, let's see. Last week we did touch on Larry Hubbard passing, and it's still, I read some of the threads, and Larry was a pretty unique guy, and hopefully some people will really tell some good stories about him, and there's a few of them, but the guy was a real player, so I don't want to go too far into it, but the generations are changing. One of these days, not too long from now, Justin, they'll be talking about us.
Speak for yourself there, Paleface.
Oh, well, yes. Other news, we'll just hit the high spots. Johnny Archer was on the Today Show. I think a lot of people were saying it was disappointing. I'm going to agree and disagree.
I didn't see it.
Well, he was on for a whopping 30 seconds. He had Brooke Shields lay down on the table, and it was the shoot the cue ball out of the chalk in your mouth shot, but without the chalk in your mouth. So it just jumped over her. She's laying down and makes a...
Oh, okay.
But, that's not what's important. What's important is you actually got pool in front of a
what
gazillion
was the
people.
reason? I never did hear the reason why they were there.
I didn't get a chance to watch all of it, but there was evidently a shuffleboard, ping pong, and pool. And there's some very valid posts on the thread on AZ Billiard or something like, if you guys think this is going to get pool out of the dumps, you're in trouble.
Hey, man, anything
is better than nothing. And, it's an awareness thing. But it's just unfortunate that the media really doesn't understand pool. They think pool is some guy just doing one little trick shot. But by the same token, Johnny did okay for himself. So, because I know Johnny and I have our differences, but we're not going to have a difference about this one. So, and that's fine. Something that's getting a lot of traction on the forums is Scott Frost has thrown in the towel as a professional pool player. I have mixed feelings about that.
I made a post, and
I did. You did make a post.
I'm kind of like,
I know you said.
What are you really retiring from?
I understand that, and that's why he's retiring, because I'm not sure if he knows what he's retiring from. And I like Scott. It's like I said in my post. He's a little erratic at times, but I enjoy being around Scott at times. He developed into one hell of a player. I remember when he first came on the scene. Rick Golden was backing him, and this is back. This had to be in early '90s or something. And this left-handed kid, and he'd stroke the ball, and his cue stick would actually hit his cheek, and it was like an Efren bicycle stroke, It smoothed out, and Scott had a lot of firepower even back then, and a lot of guts. And it's unfortunate that the players are bailing from the game a little bit.
Well, see, my thing is,
I know you said.
How are you bailing? They'll play the same tournaments.
They will.
It's just.
It's a different mental outlook at it. He'll still be playing in the tournaments. He might even do better in some of them because a lot of the pressure's gone. But it's I'm not going to beat it up to death. But I really will chalk this as another nail in the coffin through the bonus ball, and that's because of the emotional entanglements that caused. People finally said, "I've had enough," and that's the emotional damage that happens when things get out of hand, and that it got out of hand. But I wish Scott the best. He's going to dealing school, I guess. But I just think that, and Justin's been saying this for years, and that the current format for tournament play just doesn't work. And I'm going to agree. That's one reason why.
I think it doesn't work, but CJ keeps banging on promoters and saying, and that's what pisses me off. Is because the way I look at it, it doesn't work. But yet, if it wasn't for the guys who've been doing it for the last 15 years,
what would there be?
There would be nothing.
Well, and
I respect the people that have stuck with it. Even as jacked up as Barry has gotten things, you still got to respect the guy for what he's
39
doing.
years and running. I hear you.
So, to me, the whole, that really gets under my skin.
I almost called CJ. And because I really want CJ to understand a couple things. I don't dislike him, but he does speak about things that I just don't think he knows what he's speaking about. And He knows a lot more about me than pool and how they did it 20 years ago.
Well, you know, the whole how we did it 20 years ago made me think of something. I'm a shooter, right? I used to be able to go to Walmart and I could buy 9mm ammunition, all I wanted, for $11 a hundred. Well, you know what? Today, it's $30 a hundred.
Is that all?
And you can't get it because nobody has it.
Yeah.
So, you know, shit changes, man. I mean,
nothing's the same. But I hope CJ's listening or whatever, because I will be calling him in the next couple of days when I get a chance, because we're just going to have a chit chat, but we need to come to an understanding. Because I'll tell you what, some of his, I've only put one person on ignore in my life, once AZ, and he was about ready to be number 2. I just can't take it anymore. I just don't understand what some of the things he's saying, and it's so hard to read some of his stuff. I know he's smart. I know I really think he's trying to do the right thing, but we're just different wavelengths. So I'll pick up the phone and we'll see if we can at least march down the same road. TAR 36, 1 month and, well, 2 days less than 1 month, whatever. September 27th, 28th, 29th.
Shaw seems to be the early favorite.
I'm probably going to agree with that consensus. The guy has got such firepower, and he's in constant play. He's playing all the time. It was interesting, him and Earl, he broke his cue stick, which I don't like to see. And somebody said it was his break jump or break cue. I still don't like to see anybody doing that. That's bad business. But Earl can make you do things, you know. But then they canceled that challenge, that Scotch doubles thing. It's been canceled, I understand.
That's what I heard. I mean,
and who knows why? But anyhow, it's a race to 27, 10 ball, on the 27th, 28th, and 29th. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next month. So it's almost a month from now. It'll be interesting. I actually predict it'll go 3 days, and I'll bet you that there's no more than a total of 10. I mean, not bet, but I think there's going to be. I think it's going to be about a 10-game total between the winner and the loser. They both have pretty good firepower, but Jason.
I think Mike's definitely got the better break.
Yeah. Although Mike's break.
To me, they're a lot alike, in that they both can have big swings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're both capable of playing run-out pool.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of similarities.
I think it will depend on, you know, who holds it together a little better, and as always, who breaks better.
Well, and it's funny because Duchesne does have a monster break, and you know, CSI sponsored Duchesne in that Steinway Classic, and he went hill with Darren, and he was breaking the last game and took the cue ball off the table, made 3 or 4 balls, and Darren runs out, and so much for that 37-mile-an-hour break. He overamped. That's what he said. He said, and that comes with seasoning. You know, it's easy to get that adrenaline going. A lot of scuttlebutt on CSI sponsoring Mike Duchesne. If the same situation were to occur tomorrow, I'd do it again. Just because it wasn't.
What was his final place?
I actually do not know. In all honesty, I didn't even watch one match. I just didn't have the time. It was the principle, and so.
Yeah, you took a little heat for that.
And I shouldn't have, but that's okay. You know, I was making a point, and I think the point kind of got, which is, let's just talk about CJ for a minute. He says, well, what's this sponsorship all about? I got people that want to sponsor people. I can tell you what, CJ, if you got people that want to sponsor people, you know how to get in touch with them.
Takes a phone call.
And the next time some wise ass from Texas says, oh, well, I can get sponsorship at Walmart. It's $1.65. You can stick it where the sun don't shine. I don't care who you are, because that's just total bullshit.
Yeah, it's the same old thing.
Same old thing.
You know.
Yep.
It's you know what it reminded me of? It's like when you stood up way backwoods in 2008. The infamous players meeting.
Yeah. After
the bus driver meeting.
Yep. The bus driver meeting. Yeah.
And you know, you said you'd put in $200,000 for a tour.
Mm-hmm.
Very famous older player. Wasn't CJ. I don't even think CJ was there.
No, I don't think he was either.
Was standing next to me, and he goes, well, that's only like $25,000 added events. That's no money.
Yeah.
Now look at us, right?
And, you know, and that didn't happen. And the reason it didn't happen, I was going to tag on to existing events. I had actually talked to Barry Berman, was going to add an additional 25 to his event, and he said yes. And one of my requirements was...
That was before you got barred out of Virginia, though.
Yes, yeah. And one of the requirements was that women could play, and he said yes. And that was 1 or 2 years before he allowed the women back in. The reason it didn't work was, number one, Tony Anagoni had the contract for the two events at Reno at the Sands, and I was going to tag 20. They were adding 25. I was going to add 25. That would have made it 50. He wanted to charge me $10,000 for the film, the streaming rights, and I said, "You're out of your mind." But Tony Anagoni is out of his mind. That's one strike I couldn't. But the one that really sent me off was I had made a deal with the WPBA, the women. I had talked to them at Charlotte in 2007, I believe it was, when the BCA trade show. And I had a verbal okay. Yes, we'll allow the women to play. I went up to, it's a casino up there. It's a Boyd Casino up outside of Detroit. It was one of the women, it's Blue something. And I met with 3 or 4 of the women. Dawn Hopkins was one. Melissa Herndon was one. Somebody else and somebody else. And they said, "Oh, we can't let the women play in your events." I says, "Really? Why not?" "Because you're the BCA pool league." I said, No. This is done through CSI. This has nothing to do with... And basically they said the women can't play. And I'm not going to do it. I wasn't going to do a women's and a men's. It was pool. And between Anagoni and the women, I said, screw it. So, and I had the money. It wasn't a matter of money. It was a matter of, you guys are making it too hard, is what the matter of it was. So that's a little history on that. Will it ever happen? Probably not, because I'm more inclined to say that that's not the method of doing tournaments. I think there's 2 things that will work in tournaments or pool. TAR concept is one, or challenge matches, that type of thing. And actually Joe Tucker's ABC, American Billiard Club League, which is getting a little traction. You know, they played their first session, they're just about finished. They only had 10 rooms, but they have the finals coming up here on the 12th of next month at, what's the name of the room? I'm sorry. It's Diamond Billiards in Midlothian. That's Brandon Schuff's homeroom. 8 players are playing for $12,000. Not a lot of money, only 10 rooms. Each player only has $175 invested. They get their way paid to the finals. And when Joe and I were doing it, we said, okay, we're gonna make this run. We wanted 32 rooms, just some coordination issues. We said, well, let's just do it. 10 rooms, run 7 weeks. It's going to be done. Joe is actually in Texas right now with Don and Anita Owen. And they're trying to get 8 rooms down there, and they're trying to get 8 rooms in California. You know, you get that's 16 plus the 10, that's 26. Virginia's going to bring 3 more, that's 29. Pretty soon we're at 32. 32 rooms is about $30-some-odd thousand every 8 weeks. That's 6 times a year.
Do you guys have a website for that?
Yes, it is called. You know, I'm supposed to know all this
Always
stuff.
asking you the tough questions.
I know. It's I think it's abcleague.com. You can go to Joe Tucker. You can call Joe Tucker. You can call me, and I'll get you the information.
Yeah, to call somebody for a web address.
Somebody. Yeah. Well, there's just so much going on. And Joe's half listening. Let me see if I got it right here. They were working on the website, and there's an app. And there was just so much going on. The game, by the way, is AmericanRotation.com, and you can go to that. You can go to www.AmericanRotation.com, and or you can hit Joe Tucker up at jt10ball@gmail. It's all letters, no numbers. We're a little uncoordinated in some of the fine points. That's, and I'll take blame for that. But it's really.
What the hell?
I know. I'm listening to Kenny Schumann.
Oh, I know what it is.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I've got. I put up the American Rotation site here.
Oh, and it's showing that videotape.
And it's
yeah.
There's Kenny up in the right-hand side.
Yep, and I'm listening to him. Hi, Kenny. Anyhow, American Rotation is pretty good, and this thing it's not huge. We got 10 rooms, that's 80 players, and they all like it. And there's a couple of guys that are posting on AZ Billiards. Cool Cat 9 Lives, I think it is. Yeah, he's playing in it, and he's liking it. Ken Jennings out of.
So here's all the rules to play there and everything.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward game. It's 15 ball full rack rotation. Every ball's worth a point. The last 5 balls are worth 2 points. So there's 20 points in a rack, and you play to 100 points or 150 points, however. That's basically it. But when you get 32 clubs, we'll be paying $32,500 8 times a year, 32 rooms. But it's getting traction. It's actually working. And the beauty of this game is you don't have to sacrifice your life to be involved with pool. You can be a salesman, a mechanic, do whatever you want. And you go to your local room and you play once a week. You play 7 times. There's only 8 people allowed in a room. That's all there is. Play round robin. Top 4 go to the regional. Top 1 from the regional goes to the national. It's straightforward, simple, quick. I think this is the answer. I do. And I want to put a heads up to Don and Anita Owen from OBQs. They're partnered up with us now. So it's Mark Griffin, CSI, Joe Tucker, and Don and Anita Owen are now the promoters, owners, however they want to call it, of the American Billiard Club League. And it's an affiliate of CSI. And OB is going to sponsor a couple of players, OBQs. So, you know, if you can get $100 a month, you can play in this thing for free. And eventually we're going to get 512 players. And it's going to rock and roll. It really is. It makes perfect sense because there's such a low entry, barrier of entry. So that's all I got to say, and that's some interesting stuff you got playing in my ear there. Can you put some like music instead of people talking though?
Stop it.
Stop it. Well, you know, and again, I'll say this is all just off the cuff when we have these things. I think that pool's having some struggling, but really it's just the pro pool that's having the struggles, and there's ways around it. But the pro players are going to have to pick up they're going to have to pick up by the bootstraps, as they say, and they're going to have to help us, and they're going to have to work it. You know, the days of just doing nothing or just, you know, you got to work it. You got to promote yourself. And eventually we're going to get some things going, I think. I loved your comment, though. You said you think it's time for more professionals to retire.
No, just some.
Some. And I will agree with you. And I know I've gotten a couple little comments on some of the comments I made last week about we're going to change our formats. We don't know how we're going to handle the pros, but it's not going to be 96-man fields. And I don't know what we're going to do. And it's not going to be 96-man. We have no idea what's going to happen. Probably 32 max, maybe 16. But it's changing.
At the end of the day, you know, the model, the WPBA model, was always, you know, relying on casinos to post up.
Those days are long.
You know, and the whole TV thing.
Oh yeah.
It's just, even with TV, nobody's got any money. Well, you know what changed with the WPBA? WPBA went from having a full schedule.
Yeah.
You know, they had TV.
8, 10, 12. Yeah.
They had TV. They had everything. They had organization. Mm-hmm. You know, they were legit. I mean, the WPBA.
They got 20 years out of that model.
You know, 2 things changed that I think were important. One was PEG.
PEG left.
Yep. Yeah. And the other one was everybody ran out of money. You know, casinos stopped saying, you know what, maybe
they didn't get any return.
Right. Exactly. So even if you're on television, you still got to make money for the people who are paying the freight. Well, and that's sponsors, advertisers.
Well, I can tell you what happened. The TV model is what really changed. Not everybody says, well, they're on TV, sure, and they'd go out and bust their butt to find a sponsor, and they were asking up to $75,000, $85,000 a sponsor. 60 of that money went to put it on TV. The production cost. The players didn't get the money. It sucked the money right out, and now. And that's because years ago, ESPN would pay for that footage. They're not paying jack anymore. You have to give it to them.
Yeah.
And obviously that costs money. And then not only that, they went from SD to HD, which jacked the price up, 25%?
At the time, but I mean, it's now
it's pretty much down the same.
It's standard. Nobody does SD stuff.
But it's, the model's really changed. Because somebody did say, well, what happened to the women's, the WPBA? I think WPBA is toast. Do they even have an event scheduled this year? The U.S. Open? They weren't having.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, see that? There's the impact. Neither one of us even know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a shame too, because
it is a shame.
They did a lot of things right, in my opinion.
They did.
I mean,
but they also did some things wrong.
One of the big things they did that I think, you know, aside from just any kind of organization at all, was there was a bar to entry. You know, not. Right. When it was running right,
They came through qualifiers.
Yeah, you not just anybody could go say, oh, I'm going to be a WPBA player this week. I mean, as it went through the end, then they were kind of struggling to fill fields and stuff, but I think that's they did a lot of things right, and it really hurts when something like that goes away, in my opinion.
I agree, and
the women did a lot of things right as far as
they stuck together.
Yeah.
They sometimes they got a little funny.
Yeah, I think they had.
They were a little too full of themselves, but that happens. I mean, we were going to do an event, and we had to pay a sanctioning fee, and they wouldn't let us. We couldn't show them on the stream.
Yeah, but one of the biggest things was, in my opinion, no matter what, it's a non-profit. So, I mean, if you wanted to go buy the WPBA tomorrow, who do you write the check to?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's so. It's
Yeah, we don't need to go into the profit non-profit. That is smoke and mirrors. I went through that when I bought the pool league because the old BCA leagues were non-profit, and everybody tried. Not everybody. There's a group of about 5 people trying to make it a big deal. Yeah, go check out some of those non-profits. Their directors are making $600,000, $700,000, $800,000.
Yeah.
It's just all BS. It's just crazy. So. But that's a bad argument. Somebody else asked, which is a valid point because there's some interesting things. Moscone Cup is once again in Vegas. This year it's at the Mirage. I'm not sure the dates. It's December sometime. This is the 20th year of the Moscone Cup, and the BCA Hall of Fame induction ceremonies and dinner is also going to be in conjunction with the Moscone Cup, which was really cool.
Yeah, December 2nd.
December 2nd?
Yep.
Okay. And Jeanette Lee is getting inducted, and rightfully so. And Barry Hearn, who is Matchroom, Mr. Matchroom, is getting inducted as a meritorious service. And that's pretty cool because Barry's done some, come on, he's the man.
Somebody, as always happens on forums, somebody, why would he deserve the Hall of Fame, all that kind of shit.
Well,
and a guy made a great point. He said, Barry Hearn has done more to put pool players in front of people than anyone else.
Absolutely. And he's been doing it for 20 years.
And millions of people have seen pool because of Barry Hearn that would otherwise never have seen it. That's huge.
Well, it is. And now people have to understand something. And they say, well, then Barry Hearn should come to America and run pool. The model in the UK is so entirely different. And Mark Cantrell was the one that first tuned me into this. There is a teletax in England. And I think it's like $100 for every television that's in your house. If you had a house with 3 televisions, you get to send them $300 a year. That's how it's like the PBS over here. That's how they get funded. And all that stuff that happens is a derivative of all this teletax money, which is in millions and millions and millions. And they pay to do these things in Sky Sports because Barry doesn't do that. He gets paid to do these events. But he does a hell of a job. I mean, their budgets.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
You're sure about that?
Pretty sure.
Okay. I don't think you're right.
It's all funded through, it's funded through, now he may pay it, but it's funded, he gets paid to do it. And their budget was between $700,000 and $800,000 a couple of years ago for the one they did at the MGM. But it's shown live, it's through Sky Sports. Yeah.
There's some questions in the thread.
Okay,
now that you've done making up facts.
Well, made up facts are better than real facts any day because you can change them.
Here we go. Wait a minute. What's going on here? One thing, we might as well just go ahead and dig into it. David Marcus, which I'm not familiar with. David Marcus.
I've heard the name, but
said, I mentioned that we were going to talk about savers. Said we'd be interested in each of yours as well as others on whether Jason was wrong, talking about what deals could have happened and the fact that a deal with Earl. Okay, first thing, I didn't listen to it. I just responded to the comments on just the thread, just reading what people posted on the thread. So I can't even really speak intelligently about that specific situation. What Jason said or didn't say, because I didn't hear it.
I'm almost in the same, almost there, but I did listen. Somebody said it's at the 3505 on one, and I did listen to that at one time. And I didn't quite catch what was going on, but I thought it was Shane that offered the saver and not Earl.
See, that's what I mean. I don't.
I really can't.
I don't know. But to me, I'm against savers.
Well, I am too.
100% across the board, even in tournaments. Some people say, well, the tournaments, that pot's for the players; they can do whatever. I disagree. I don't agree with that. If you're trying to build a sport, it's just no good, man.
And I'm going to agree with you. I don't know how you stop it, but we made a policy with TAR. You get caught doing a saver in here, you're barred for life.
Yeah, you're done.
And I mean, people need to be aware of that.
Yep.
And don't think you're going to keep it a secret, because pool players talk, and and I don't care who you are. Yeah. And so that's a little bit of a warning.
Oh, that's one of the reasons we always try to keep. We don't want the disparity to be winner take all.
No, because that's, now you're asking for a
now
saver.
You're forcing them to do do something, and you can't expect a guy to come out and work for nothing.
Correct. Yeah, I hear you.
When we were gambling back in the day, it was a different kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But as it is now, things changed. The model changed.
Sure, the money dried up, just like everybody else's money.
Well, yeah, but it's a lot of things changed. But at the end of the day, if people don't believe each side's giving an honest effort, there's no way that they're going to give a shit. They just won't care. Because it's just, it's a show.
Well, and you and I have had this discussion when we went.
Well, here's another thing I want to address. Does anyone's opinions of Shane change? It wouldn't surprise me if Shane's done savers in the past. I know Shane's taken a lot of heat from some players because he wouldn't do savers.
And same with Earl. Both of those guys have had their opportunities in the past. I don't know where it stands now.
Could I see Shane doing a saver in a exhibition match where Earl Strickland is his partner, and the difference is if they don't win, they don't get any money? Yeah, I could see him doing that, because I still think it's wrong, and I would tell Shane that. But I could certainly see how that could happen. But Steinway, God bless them for supporting pool and doing what they do.
Manny does. They put it out there. They do, and it's a nice room.
The only issue I have is some of those challenge matches that they have ran from there. The inside pool streams free. They put up some numbers and they do some things, and what they say is not what happens.
You're not talking about their viewership number thing.
Well, no, I'm talking about how the money's paid.
Yeah.
They're playing such and such, so playing for X amount of $1,000. I talked to players later, and they're like, yeah, I think $700, $800 or $1,000 or whatever, and it was just right down the middle. And that gets out everywhere.
Sure it does.
And so it's one of those things to where it pisses me off, because I've worked really hard. I think TAR is we're the guys who really have been continuously nonstop doing this format.
Yeah.
And
well, you're going to say the same thing I say at CSI. We never give bogus figures out.
Well, but
and
the
that's
thing is,
what pisses me off too.
I feel like we've kind of helped build this market.
Yeah.
And now you see people come in and say, oh, well, shit, this is an easy way to make money. We'll just say, people have come to me and say, hey, man, just tell them we're playing for $20,000 and we'll split the pay-per-view. That's happened a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And I always tell people, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're a stone cold idiot.
It doesn't fly. It destroys your credibility.
Yeah, and once it's gone, it's
gone.
Yeah,
you can't buy your credibility back. It's going to take you 20 years of earning it back. And we're built the same way. Even because you're big and ugly and you're threatening me all the time, I do like you sometimes. Because we disagree, but we have some real solid core values we agree on. And one is you just don't bullshit. You don't try to smoke everybody, because you can't.
I mean, but yeah, that was the whole. That's just my whole thing. It's a prep peeve, but I think it's bad for the market. I think I had a conversation today with somebody, Mark Cantrell. I was talking to him. We were talking about it, and I said, I just think that's bad for the market. I think it hurts everyone.
Well, I think.
And I've got no problem with, if you're going to say it's an exhibition and these guys are going to put on a show and they're being paid for it, fine, no problem. Get up there, run them through there. But if you're really going to say that they're up there and they're playing for something and it's a competition and not an exhibition, there's a very different line there to me.
Sure there is.
And we do competitions,
I know that, and we do competitions. Even though we're putting up all the money, these guys are pretty serious about it. You know,
well, the winner makes more than the loser. To me, that's a competition. They're playing for something.
I agree. But they get emotionally involved. They want to beat the other guy. Because remember when we switched to this format, everybody says, "Oh, it doesn't mean anything." Oh no, it means something.
It means a lot. It means, I mean, it's crazy.
And
like
eventually,
I said, I mean, I said it last week. I've seen more guys threaten to fight each other over this than when they were, than any time they were gambling. Well,
eventually, if we get some, we're slowly working towards that model. We're going to end up with a 8-man round robin, king of the hill type of thing. It'll be a little more organized. The tough part is some of the players we want to bring here are from the overseas, and you can't rely on their travel schedule.
Yeah, it's tough.
And we were dancing around the bonus ball schedule and the world's schedules, which those kept getting canceled. It's a little messy out there. Now there was some discussion, and I'm not, you probably know more about this than I do, was Fox Sports 1, a new sports channel, and going in competition with ESPN.
Yeah, I watched the UFC last night.
UFC was on. I went to Wings and Things or something. They had it on. Was it channel 329 or something like that?
1329 in Vegas on Cox Cable.
So it's 329, 1329 in HD. See, but
for all you Vegas peeps,
it might because ESPN has had a lock. I blame ESPN for a lot of the high cost of entry for any sports. I don't care if it's softball or badminton or any of those sports, volleyball, because they're all in the same boat as pool. I think they have to pay for the footage, and it just all the money goes to the production, and no income. Whereas ESPN gets the income because they're selling it to 100 millions of peoples and who knows what. But so maybe there's some competition coming out in the media thing. I don't know. I think that's what the bonus ball guys were betting on. Barry Hearn doing.
This is what's funny though. Like if you look at bass fishing, shooting. Lately.
I know, industry supported. You've told me.
It's all industry supported. Yeah. There's a thing called Three Gun Nation. Okay, this thing was actually on NBC Sports for a while. They had picked it up, and these Three Gun guys, they basically put together that they incorporated certain matches that were already going on, and then they would take the top guys who finished. They would have shoot-offs, and they would everybody who competed in these things accrued points for a year-end thing. It was really smart how they did it. And they were, the top guys were like $5,000 prizes.
Yeah.
So, it's not, but they were able to shoot it properly. And then they went out and they put it on television basically themselves, and they ended up getting picked up. But a lot of different things have done this, like Shooting Gallery, which has been on, I think it's the Outdoor Channel or some other things. Yeah, these guys have been doing television for 15 years. They were doing matches I was at in 97, 98. And it's a half-hour show usually. And they'll go out to a match. They'll send a crew. They'll send a producer, a camera guy, and a sound guy. And they'll do the thing. And then they've got a studio, and they do all this. But then it's all industry supported. Now, the difference between the pool industry and the outdoor firearms industry is... It's crazy.
Sure, you use bullets all the time. You don't use cue balls. The only consumable is chalk.
Yeah, I mean, you've got look at all the hunting shows. There's 20 different hunting shows.
Yeah.
But so.
Well, I know the answer. I just thought of the answer. All the tip guys no longer sell tips. They lease them. 25 cents per month per tip.
Are you high? What'd you take?
You want some? No.
Jesus.
No, because now you get the residual income. See, because that's the problem with pool. You buy a cue stick, it lasts you 50 years.
Yeah.
You buy a tip, my tip, I mean, I put 2 tips on in the last 20 years. Yeah. Boy, somebody's really making money off of me.
And then if you open a pool room, why go spend $50,000 on tables when you can buy gold crowns for $1,200 a piece?
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. It's but the problem, and you're right. See, you have consumable materials in fishing or golf.
Yeah.
People lose golf balls. Golf's interesting though. Golf clubs could last you forever, but they keep making these technological advances.
That's marketing. I mean,
it is marketing. That's exactly. Those
geniuses.
guys. Well, they got a bankroll too.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, Predator does the same thing. I mean, Predator's got the best marketing in my opinion.
They are a marketing company
in pool
by far.
And what they do is just every couple 3 years, hey, look, new technology in a brake cue, and sometimes they do some cool stuff. They get out there on the edge and push the envelope as far as design and materials, which is cool. But
well, they also put a lot of money into the industry. The sponsors of players,
They're at all the shows.
Yeah, but they did those some of those tournaments. They were blowing $80,000, $100,000 in a lot of those tournaments.
Yeah.
You know, when they're doing the Predator International thises and that's. You know, and they're still involved. We actually aligned with them a little bit at our last national event, and it looks like we may get OB and Predator both to be singing the same tune on some future events, and there might be room for somebody else. Just because we mentioned those two, there's nothing wrong with Tiger. There's nothing wrong with McDermott. I'm just naming some of the bigger. I mean, Lucasi, they get behind some things. We need to get industry support. You know, TAR needs industry. Why don't you pick up the phone and call these guys, Justin?
I don't know.
Hey, why don't you, get busy?
I thought that's what you did.
No, I don't do anything.
Yeah, no shit.
So, trying to think of what else is really going on with pool. You have the Darren still is on fire, runs 200 and out from the get-go in a straight pool, which is the highest ever recorded in an officiated match or whatever.
He's a beast.
He is getting to be a real beast. I mean, he just wins the
Getting
world
to be.
games.
He's
No,
been one for a while.
I
man.
know, but he's maturing out.
Yeah.
He's a constant threat now.
He's
a bulldog. He really is. You know, he gets a piece of you.
He's so mentally tough and mentally strong that when he gets, and now that he's got the experience and he knows how to win,
and he's got confidence.
It's double tough.
Yeah.
Double tough.
But he wins the Columbia Games, and that was a month ago during our right at the end of our event, and that was in the WPA, and then came in second in straight pool. And listen, he hasn't been really playing straight pool that long, and he lost to a real hell of a gentleman. And Torsten Holman is a pretty strong player, and you got to take your hat off. He double hit the cue ball and called a foul on himself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that is awesome. And now somebody said, who else would do that? Well, George Breedlove did it in a qualifier for the IPT, and that would have got him in. He was playing Alex, I think, at the Derby City, called a foul on himself, but he did get in at a future one. My wife, Sonny Griffin, did it to herself at the Frisco tournament, Bodies event 2-3 years ago. So there's some honor among pool players, but I thought it was pretty nice. I really didn't watch a lot of the straight pool, but I did see Darren hurt himself, get tied into that pack, and he forgot that Torsten was on a foul. And that could have changed the whole thing. Instead, he went for that 5-ball bank shot, and Torsten would have been on the first foul, and that would have changed the whole game. He just isn't that familiar with straight pool.
Let me see. Boogeyman.
Okay.
I would like to talk about the Moscone Cup, as Earl referred to in an earlier TAR podcast, which I don't remember. How many more Shanes do we need in order to compete and better the Europeans? Parentheses, also, please don't mention one word about bonus ball in this podcast. Silence will certainly be golden in this case.
You're right.
In your opinion, I disagree.
Well, to a degree. I'm a big fan of history. Got to remember it, folks. How many more Shanes do we have to be competitive in the Moscone Cup? Wow.
You know what? The Moscone Cup,
it's not a real competition.
It's a show.
It's a show. Yeah.
The Europeans mentally are so much better prepared and willing to do what it takes, in my opinion, to do that kind of thing.
The Americans,
the Americans are all over the place. They're simply all over the place, and it's.
I know. It's almost like the Americans say, "Man, I hope this guy misses that shot," because that way they'll remember his missed shot instead of my missed shot, and he'll be the bad guy.
To me, the Moscone Cup, if you pick any Moscone Cup for the last 10 years and let me have the 5 Americans that played, and you can have the 5 Europeans that played, and we can play in a longer gambling format, the Americans will rob the Europeans.
I would agree with you. They're built for these little short races. You know what I really would like to do?
That's not necessarily a good thing. But the Europeans, when it's time for them to come together, they really do come together.
They're a team.
The Americans make a show of it, and they try to show the world, look, it's bullshit. Okay, some of them do try, but when you've got Earl in there tearing everything down around him.
Yeah. But he makes great TV. But I'm surprised they're letting him back because, Earl really embarrassed when they were in, what's the island where the real fast guy played from?
Malta?
Yeah. And the U.S. ambassador wanted to meet the team, and Earl wouldn't show up. That's pretty strong.
It's probably a good thing.
Well,
no shit.
But,
no shit.
But you understand that puts everybody in a compromising position. You can't do that stuff. Now, and then you wonder why pool's in the tank. Well, and then, I mean, I love Earl to death, but you can't put anything where you have to rely on Earl because you don't know what Earl's going to show up.
Yeah.
Well, you saw it here. You know, boom. Hey, I like that. Look, I cut my arm off. I was going to say something else about the Moscone Cup, but it is great entertainment. And getting back to why should Barry Hearn be inducted, because he has for many years, and I just wish they'd show the Moscone Cup on American TV. But that's how screwed up American TV is.
Hey, maybe we'll get lucky and Fox 1 will pick it up.
They might.
That'd be pretty sweet.
It is, because it is a good show. I mean, it's fun. It's
great
TV.
Show.
It's just TV.
Great show.
And you know, they're only playing a couple of games, and they've changed the rules, and they put the 9-ball on the spot, and you got to get 3 or 4 balls past the half, and sometimes you can crush them, and it's an illegal break. It's just crazy, you know.
Mr. Bond posted 73rd annual TAR podcast.
Well, we don't. Charlie Williams is so wrong for promoting that event. It's just cheap, tacky. Tackier than I am. Yeah, that's pretty damn tacky.
That whole thing, man, with the World Championship. You know, when Mike Howerton comes out and
he's fed up,
and gets and lets it know, like, you know, I've had enough. I got to say something. You know, it's like it's pissing somebody off.
Well, you know, I went through it 2 years ago, and I just got beat up.
Yeah,
but
I did too.
But you know the funniest one, and listen, I got to know Dennis Walsh a little bit at last year's Derby. Not too bad of a guy, but he says, "Oh yeah, let's go through this again." Yeah, we're going to go through it again because you guys keep doing the same thing. Just call it what it is. But I'm glad they're having it. It's great straight pool. They're trying to help keep the game going. It's wonderful. There's some great play. I completely understand having Olhausen table as the final table because it's Olhausen sponsored. But if I was to do that at my event and you play 20 tables are this style and the final table is another style, holy crap, we'd get beat. We can't even change cue balls. You know, it's just the finals are supposed to be played on the same equipment as the rest of the tournament.
Dude, Charlie's Teflon.
Is that right?
He doesn't. For one thing, he doesn't care what anyone says or thinks.
That's probably
he doesn't. It's right over the top, man. Yeah. Just, I mean, look at over the years throughout the history. He just does not give a shit. Yeah. Not even, you know, doesn't even occur to him.
Doesn't even occur to him. Yeah.
No,
I mean, I have to agree.
And
but
the players.
Oh well, that's the players.
They keep going. They keep going. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, the ABP single-handedly took $25,000 events and made them $7,000 events. So that's you know, and Keith Hewlin, I guess, is no longer getting involved. And that's the guy and Keith's a hell of a nice guy. He got a wonderful room down in.
California?
No, Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
Out in the middle of the cane fields. I'm trying to remember it's just an awesome room.
Is that the White Diamond one? Or
no.
I always get them confused.
Emerald Billiards.
Okay.
Terrific guy. Drives a Lamborghini.
Yeah, I think I've met him a couple times. I think he's come to a TAR match, right?
He was here because he comes up for the APA.
Yeah. Johnny T.
Oh yeah.
Said, and this is actually really cool. It's a good idea. I'd like to see some pictures of Mark's pool rooms in Alaska. You have pictures that old? You have drawings, maybe? Types?
Yeah. I'll tell you what. If anybody has the Stein, boy, my memory's gone today. The Billiard Encyclopedia.
Yeah.
The first edition, page 204.
Yeah.
A half-page picture. That was one hell of a room.
He didn't ask for a bibliography. He said, "Do you have any pictures?" We can put them up on.
I don't know if I have any pictures. Yeah, I'll bring the Billiard Encyclopedia. I'll take it. Yeah, Give him some.
You've got to have pictures of your room, man.
You know, I'm just not into photography.
Somebody somewhere, if you have the room that long, they got to have pictures.
Yeah, I just don't have any.
Okay. Then Johnny goes on. Question to Mark G. TAR has stated many times, any player that does business in a TAR match will be banned for life. Would you ban players from your tournaments if they did business on a TAR match? 2 questions. That question's the first one.
Wait a minute.
There's another one.
I didn't understand.
If somebody came in here and did a saver or dumped a tar match, would you bar them from CSI?
Oh,
events?
they're barred from CSI events. They're barred.
Good.
Because you have determined, you've now shown us that you do not respect the game.
Yep.
And one thing I'm going to do, and that's why I'm changing the formats for the pro. I'm going to, it's me. I'll even consult Justin. We're going to create a crop of players that have the same basic ethical background of what the game's worth. Mm-hmm. And if you can't play by those rules, then you can't play.
Yeah.
And you're not. Some of these guys are not going to be superstars, but we're going to respect their heart and their ethics, morals.
This is funny. There's a promoter in the ABP that is in the clique that is famous for savers, splitting, and chopping. As this only hurts pro pool, and he should know it. But if some of the big-name promoters pulled the plug on doing any pro tournaments, in my opinion, he would be right there picking up the tournaments canceled. What do you think? I tell you what I think. I've heard this conspiracy theory from a lot of different places and a lot of different people that think Charlie is just loving the fact that pool's going to shit, because his master plan will be to come along and pick up all the pieces
for $7,000 out of the tournament
and have this ABP Dragon Promotions run everything. And what I think is that's bullshit, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to have the money. And I can tell you that at least one ABP event last year didn't pay the first place guy. Took him a few months to pay.
I think I mentioned that last week.
Yeah. And so it just goes, when you start looking really at the ABP, they're terrible for the game. The idea, sound, okay, no problem. I don't think I don't think there's I don't think it's malice. I just think they're not, they're trying to do shit that they can't do. They're not equipped. They don't have the resources.
They're inept.
They're not willing to put in the work.
No, they're inept, and in all honesty, they have not done anything right.
No. And what sucks is there's this feeling among the players, and it's always been this fraternity, and I understand it, but it's us against the world. Even if we do something fucked up, we're better than, you still got to back us up or keep your mouth shut. Because
we tried,
and
there's listen, you got to use a little logic. And that argument of bonus ball, well, at least they tried. Bullshit.
Yeah, and what happens?
They stiffed everybody. They didn't try.
But what happens is they, when that mentality sets in, and it's not just in pool. I've seen it in a lot of other places. What happens is if people don't speak up, if they don't just or just they don't have to speak up, they just don't have to support it. You don't got to get up and stir, and say this guy's an asshole or that guy's an asshole. You just have to be willing to say, no, I'm not going to support that. Yeah. If that means not going to a tournament or speaking up and saying, I think that's wrong,
And I don't want to reach over and stretch my arm by patting myself on the back, but I've just had enough with all this stuff. And my attitude is, now the other guys, they don't have to stand up and get in front of the truck like we are, or like I am. Where I'm saying, no, you can just tag on me. Let me take the heat. I'm only going to be doing this for another couple more years anyhow. Then I'm done. So,
that's kind of where I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the future. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, that's in this industry, and I said, where do you think this is going to be in 10 years? Where do you think it's going to be in 5 years? Because in 5 years, I could very easily see. I don't see any new promoters coming in the game. Badi, maybe. Who knows what he may or may not do. He's the only legit guy that has shown any interest in having the capability to do more than the first annual.
Yeah, and I don't.
But even then, you're not going to be. Maybe you're doing this in 5 years. Maybe not. Maybe you decide to go sit on a beach. Same thing with Greg Sullivan. Who knows? If Caesar changes their mind.
Yeah.
There's two more gone.
You and I have both said that there's only 2 or 3 people that could turn the light switch off on pool in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it could happen. I don't want it to happen, but we can't. We're not. The definition of insanity: keep doing the same thing and expect different results.
Which is why I think it's.
That's why the ABC League is the answer.
Nah, I disagree.
Well, it's
I
part
think
of the
structure.
answer.
I think the structure's a great idea.
Yeah, part of the answer.
If anything that you're trying to do for spectate, what you're trying to do to me is not professional pool. That structure could be used for professional pool.
It's not professional pool. I'm not saying it's professional. It's not designed to be professional pool. It's a tool of developing.
Yeah. To me, the answer you've had the answer forever, and I still don't know why it's not being pushed more.
And
that's the USA Pool League.
It's tough picking.
The USA Pool League, that structure where the amateurs, support the pros and the pros give back to the amateurs. That's the answer. That's the magic bullet.
And we're slowly getting it there. We're I can't even tell you what our pro pot is up to. It's the promotional pot, but we actually have one league operator that's over 100 teams, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot when you're starting some new things off. So
I really believe that that's
growing. It's growing.
That's the answer, and that's the only thing outside of something like what we do, where basically you have to kill what you eat. But then what happens is, we're honestly, TAR is pretty much about where it is. I mean, outside of, we pick up a little here and there on certain matches, but we're not suddenly going to be able to start paying $20,000 prize funds.
Well, the real issue is we need some industry sponsorship. We just do. I mean, and listen,
it's unbelievable. I mean, we've been lucky to have Kamui and OB. Outside of the industry, Kurzweil has helped support us.
A couple of them,
And
Bad Boys.
Yeah, Bad Boys. And
but
those guys have done what they can.
Yeah.
But it's pretty sick when you have like Shane playing Efren.
Yeah, and you get a whopping $1,000 worth of sponsorship,
maybe if you're
something.
Lucky. And we're grateful for that.
Sure, we are.
But at the same time, you got to look around and say, man, where else could you have people that of this level doing something?
Well,
and it's really, that's what's stunning, is that the industry, and maybe that's got something to do with the fact that we're both absolutely horrible. I mean, ridiculously terrible at trying to get that, or trying to do something like that. Yeah. But trying to get sponsorship or talking to people.
We're not salespeople. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough action. But I think I know it'll sound like it's not even connected. But the fact that we moved our nationals to the Rio, and it just moved it up so many levels, that we're starting to get some of these main players, the OBs and the Predators and the McDermotts, are starting to talk among themselves. Mm-hmm. And they're starting to see that, hey, we need to band together here a little bit.
Well, it's rapidly, in my opinion, coming to the point where, I think it could be a good thing, because the pro pool in the United States is going to go in the tank in the next couple of years. I mean, worse than it is now, in my opinion. I don't see it trending up at all. I think it's just going to keep going down.
Well, expenses eat you up.
Yeah.
It's going to be all local, regional things.
Yep. And the good thing is when that thing, it's almost like a slash and burn type thing. If it gets bad enough, it'll clean out some of the trash and some of the mess.
You and I have had this discussion, and we both agree with that, too.
And then maybe, hopefully, if it's done, and maybe, chances are you and I won't even be around to fool with it.
Oh, come on. Now.
But, I mean, hopefully when it comes back, it's done right. And if that's the case, then it will have a chance for a long-term future. But the good thing is, and this is, I really believe this, the generation of the players and American players who have all been raised up gambling and in pool rooms and were betting thousands of dollars when they were 16 years old, so they have no respect for money. A lot of them don't know what it's like to go work 40 hours for $500. That contributes to some of the attitudes and actions.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah. And,
price of everything, value of nothing.
Exactly. So, whereas it seems Europeans view it more as sport.
It's a discipline.
They treat it as such.
Dedication.
And the Asians, the Taiwanese, Chinese treat it the same way, similar to Europeans in that sport. Filipinos, it's hardcore gambling, but at the same time, they take it very serious because that's how they eat. And the other thing is, the way their system works, if they fall below a certain level, they don't get to travel anymore. They don't. Only the best guys get to come out, and sometimes even they can't get out for visa problems. Mm-hmm. But so I think, the generation of players that have been raised gambling in the United States is going away. And I think a lot of those attitudes and a lot of those things that, that have been done to them wrongly, over the years, they've been screwed over and beat up so many times, you almost can't blame them for having such an outlook. Yeah. But I think those guys. I think we're seeing the tail end of that for one reason is because the pool rooms are all gone.
Well,
because
and
the
action's
places,
dried up because
the
the
action,
internet. I
yes,
mean, there's
exactly.
all these things that there are no unknown road players.
Right. So
You know.
now I think we're getting the newer crop of guys. You're seeing more people come up. It'd be pretty sweet to see 20 Landon Shufflets running around.
Yeah.
Well,
now and that's that the Lindenwood University where Mark Wilson, their room should be getting ready to open. They build a special building, 4 pool tables, 4 diamonds, and 4 this and 4 that. It's just that's going to be really that has some potential. Really change.
That's one of the most
landscape.
exciting things I've heard in pool. I sat down and talked with Mark Wilson about that. And for people who don't know, Mark Wilson was able. They put together a billiard program at Lindenwood.
I believe it's Lindenwood.
Lindenwood College, and
in Illinois.
They have it's a team. It's like he told me it was like 20 or 30 people on the team, but they go and they play matches with other colleges and things like that.
And they have the funding for travel, and I mean this is. This is some pretty exciting stuff.
And you couldn't have picked a better guy on earth to start something like that than Mark Wilson. I mean, he's the perfect guy for that, and it's really cool to see, someone like him in that position, because the right guy at the right time in the right place can change a lot of things, and I think that program will be a bright light for pool, especially as it continues to grow.
And he's actually got
sports.
He's got a Chinese kid coming over to go to school there. And this is a legitimate college. This is not just
for sure.
This is not just we're going to go play pool and no. This is a real live college, classes, diplomas, legit everything. And you got Brandon Crockett, Landon Shufflett. There's a couple others I can't think of their names. Tyler Schuyler, I think, and so it's going to be just really cool. So our hats off to them too. I don't really have too much more to say, as all the pontification's over.
Here's Barney Calypso said something. I don't like it, but I'm sure the players do savers even on tar.
No,
maybe they do. I don't think so because I've never heard about it.
I don't think we've ever had one, and that's an unnecessary comment.
We haven't done one since we've been here in Vegas. I know that there's guys had talked about doing it years and years ago, like 2008, 2009. We were doing stuff on the road, American players, and
but
I told them, I said, look.
That wasn't our money, though. That was they were trying. If that was the case,
but at the same time, I told them, I said,
no.
You're a fool. You're a fool. And, and then one guy even said, well, my backer knows about it. It was a mess, man. It was a stone mess. Yeah. And I'm not going to get into details on it. But that was a long time ago. And that's one of the events that, reinforced my views on them.
All I know is since we put the studio in, we had that.
That was one of the things when we started. When we started the new. I mean, one thing I was always adamant about was if I ever caught anybody dumping or doing business, that was it. Not only would they be barred from tar, but they would have a very serious problem with me personally.
Yeah.
And then the saver thing, I've always told them, it's one of the biggest rules of leadership, don't make a rule you can't enforce. Well, I can't prove that a guy did a saver. But what I can say is if I ever find out about it to the point that I believe it to be true, then you will be sanctioned. Mm-hmm. And that's always been my stance. Yeah. And now that we've done this, since we've been here and with CSI, it helps TAR a lot, and the fact that we do have the weight behind it of Mark's support. Say, look, if you do something stupid here, it can cost you.
Yeah, U.S. bar table, Swanee, U.S. Opens. It kind of restricts your playing field.
Yeah, well,
you better think about it twice.
Your opportunities. Yeah. So that's people say that all the time. I've had people say, oh, people have dumped on TAR all the time. No, I don't believe it. But
I don't either. And
one thing about pool is that no matter what happens, you're always going to have somebody yelling dump, or you're always going to have somebody saying it's a work or it's a job. That's just the way. That's the nature of the business. It's like that in everything.
Well, it's hard to tell playing bad and dumping look a lot alike. But speaking of dumps,
well, here's the problem with most dumps. most of them don't make any financial sense.
Yeah.
You know, even if a guy did them, because it ain't back in the day when there was 40,000 on the rail. You know, that's just not how it works. No tar match has ever been like that. And, you know, the only tar matches, and the other thing is the rail's not stupid for the most part. You know, if there's somebody in there that's got a reputation or they think might take a dive, they're not going to bet on it.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
they're not,
yeah.
you know, you could, it's not going to happen. So I think a lot of people who want to look smart, who try to, you know,
they're in the know.
Yeah, they
Well, a lot of
they
people
like
just,
to yell that.
they're internet keyboy cowboys, you know, and they say, oh, I know that. No, and they don't know, and these rumors
This
are
is
not
like
necessary.
Here, this guy. Who is this guy?
Which
he says
one?
Barney Calip, whoever.
I believe
says,
he's out of
He said it's
Sacramento,
better for the
San
players to split the
Francisco.
money in half. They need it. Of course, they will not tell you.
Oh, he's
Barney, I got to tell you, man, I'm disagreeing
You're
with
barking
you
up the wrong
100%.
tree,
and
bud.
I don't think you know the players, because a lot of players that come here when they play, there's a lot of pride on the line. And the other thing is, they're not playing for that much difference. You know, I mean, usually $2,000 to $1,500.
So you're going to sell your reputation for $500? Well, then that's what now you've shown what it's worth.
Yeah,
So
and so
he's wrong.
Yeah,
I feel he's wrong.
I do too.
So, but the problem is he's just educating, or thinking he's educating 500 people out there, and they're going to, you know, and then.
Well, no, that's his opinion. You know, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Then he ought to say, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Don't be
I
saying
mean,
things as facts if they're not
right.
facts.
And you know, one thing that I know is, you know, I can tell you right now, if that was happening, one, I wouldn't work with those people anymore, and two, if it got to the point where I ran out of people to work with, I would go do something else.
Yeah.
Because it's not worth.
Well,
you know, I'm not selling out my honor for a few dollars.
The players could ruin tar in about 2 matches if they really wanted to.
Sure.
You know, just
Well,
pull that crap, and then pretty soon we have nobody to play.
Yeah.
Then we go away.
Yeah. Which, hey, you know, it's anything's possible. It's to the point where, you know, I there's a lot of guys out there. The one thing that I really believe that the guys that play our matches, and it's not on accident. I look for it. I search it out. Is they want to win. When they come, they want to win. You know, that's why I picked a lot of the matches I do. This Deshane match is a perfect example. You know, I mean, maybe if you ask what would you like to see the next tar match, maybe somebody says that match, but it's probably not going to be in the top 2 or 3 or 4. But the reason I did it was I know they both want to win.
And there's a little bit of history there too.
Yeah,
They
and
woof
I
at
mean,
each
and
other.
they want to win, and that's what I want to see. You know, and they
You
both
want the
can play
intensity.
fantastic pool. So, and the other thing is, they're both guys that, you know, they're younger. You know, they're
They're the future of pool.
Yeah, you got to start, and people have said that in the past. You know, we got to start giving these guys a shot at the limelight, and you know, we're willing to put up money to do it. So it wouldn't bother me if there was 10 other people out there doing the same thing we are if they did it the same way we do it. You know, if it's level, even competition, I got no problem with it.
Yeah, and then we get. I'm not a big fan of the free streams because it just deteriorates the market. Because there has to be.
See, to me, I don't mind the free streams as much because
it's a narrow. There's a gray area.
I think it's good. I think it's good to expose. There needs to be
gets
like
exposure.
The tournaments and stuff. That's great. I think the free streams for tournaments are great. I wish we could do the nationals tournaments. I think, you know, I wish we could cover the nut and find some way to get enough support to make it worth the time.
Well, that's
to
where
do
you
it.
get into industry sponsorship.
Right.
And it's really ridiculous when you do a pay-per-view and you have X amount of people, and you do a free and you get 5 or 10 times X.
Yeah, but even then, at 5 or 10 times X, it's still too small to pull any numbers.
You know, and it's.
I mean, 2,000 people. That's rare to hit that anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, the bigger streams I've watched, I've seen 1,300, 1,400, stuff like that.
I think the biggest one I ever saw was one of AccuStats Turning Stones. I think they high 2s.
No, you're crazy.
They were over 2 for the whole time. The last 3 or 4 matches. I think the straight pool hit 2,000 the last day.
Then 2,000's a ceiling.
Yeah.
I can ask JP; he will know. But high 2s, no way. I mean, if it is, it's a new record by far.
Yeah. Which is sad when you think about it.
But yeah, that's what I mean.
Look, there's 50 states. That's not even 60 people in a state.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
You know, woo.
Exactly.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah.
And it's free at that
Think
point.
about this. If we could get 20 people in each state to buy the pay-per-view,
That's 1,000.
we could raise the,
Yeah.
we could be, it's crazy the shit we could do.
Yeah.
You know? And we, and people wouldn't believe this, but they thought, oh, you just put the money in your pocket. And no, we wouldn't, because it would be stupid to do that.
No,
you
'cause
can't
we could grow
grow if,
something.
you can't
we could
grow if
something,
you just stick the money in your pocket.
Yeah, the numbers are, it's a pretty fractured market. And it's the American way. There's so many distractions. I mean, you can watch.
Let me see here.
streaming
Sloppy
or
Pocket said, kind of, Scott Frost was very clear that bonus ball wrecked his life. You know, I feel bad for Scott because, he and I have had our differences.
Life.
Well, he put a lot into that.
I said they got emotionally overloaded.
And I'll tell you the one thing that, people have always said that, we keep, because we've been, asking questions about bonus ball and trying to hold them accountable since this thing began.
2 years ago.
We've gotten labeled as being against
Haters.
the players, which
We're
is
haters.
bullshit.
Yeah.
But, one thing, and I've said it numerous times, that I think it really impressed me was the way that the players got behind it. They gave it a hell of an effort. And, and Scott, you got to give him credit, man. I mean, he tried to step up and be a leader, and he was down for the team, and he went out front and tried to, do all the right things. And
he just got lied to.
Exactly. And
there's a few industry players that lied
I
to
really
him also, and that's where I get.
I really respected how Scott handled
He did not.
that.
I agree with you, and I wish him nothing but the best. And we'll see him again.
He, it sucks that he feels that way. I mean, but at the same time, everybody's got to make that choice in life. I mean, when you decide if you want things to change, you got to change them. And
well, he'll still be playing, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he'll be playing in the Derby City. He might play better.
I think he would play better. I think
he's
he
got
would
the
play
pressure
better.
out from under him.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about starving.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would love. I think Scott.
He changed one pocket.
I think Scott could be a better player if he had a more secure backstop. And still had the freedom. Because I mean, to me, it all goes back to this. I look at Donnie Mills. Donnie Mills can beat anyone on any given day. In my opinion, when he's right.
He's a part-time pool player.
And
works 60 hours a week.
Right.
Who's also playing in the American
Billiard
Billiard Club League.
When he loses, it doesn't completely fuck his head up because he's not wondering how the hell he's going to get back home.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that pressure on him when he's playing of, oh God, if I dog this ball, where am I going to eat? And there's been a lot of other players like that. I mean, I think there is something to be said for that live, eat, breathe. But at the same time, a lot of guys at that level, they're not all Shane. They don't all live, eat, and breathe and play 12 hours a day, despite what a lot will tell you they do. They don't. They come and they'll play a couple hours a day maybe, or if they get a lesson or they're getting paid or there's a free pool or something, goof off. But, for the most part, they're not in there banging it out 8-9 hours a day for the great majority of them.
Good. Now I want to say one other thing because we're running out of time. Moscone Cup, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be really interesting to see. You're not going to believe what I'm going to say here in a minute. I think it's going to be very interesting that Johnny Archer is a playing captain, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see Buddy Hall as a half captain. Is that a good term? I don't know. I hope he shows up because there's some knowledge and everything.
I think Buddy.
I'm going to stick my neck out there real far, and if America bombs this time or next time, make me the captain.
You can't be the captain. Nobody likes you.
I don't care. They don't have to like me.
Nobody likes you. They won't. No, that
see,
would be terrible.
No, I just disagree
with you. That would be terrible.
Totally disagree with you.
That would be terrible. That would
totally
be horrible.
Disagree with you.
That would be horrible.
I just disagree with you.
They wouldn't even.
It's about
listen
motivation.
To you. They wouldn't even pay attention to you.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
They would turn around and walk away.
No, I'm not going to have them playing tennis the day before they play a match.
They wouldn't even pay attention.
I'm just telling you.
They would not pay attention.
It's all about motivation.
What could you tell them? You've never played at that level.
I never will either.
Right. So
but
that's
I play
what
good
mean.
enough to know motivation.
No.
Yes, I just disagree with you.
I do disagree with you.
Okay.
You got to know who you're dealing with. And I can tell you right now, it would never work. Ever in a million years.
See, once again,
Hold on, I got one more question.
We have a difference of opinion.
I got one more question from my man, Nick B.
Oh, Nick, yeah. Another Canadian.
For shits and giggles, will tar matches be using Cyclop balls? If Cyclop balls wants to sponsor tar, we can make a deal.
By the way, we didn't even talk about those things. We know we're having the Southwest Regional this weekend in Arizona. Starts on Thursday. It started today. Geez, I got to be down there tomorrow. And it's a Fort McDowell. We're using Cyclop balls down there. Most people are accepting them. I get some people come up and say, are you going to be using those Cyclop balls next year? And I write them back and says, yes, we have a 4-year contract. Says, well, that's too bad. We're just not coming back, or this or that. And says, I don't get it. You go to the bar and you play on dirty balls and dirty tables and this and that. A lot of people forget something. Normally at our events, we clean the balls every other day. Because of all the hassles and the electricity going out and being behind the 8-ball, those balls never got cleaned at this tournament. And the Rio lost a chiller, so every ballroom was out of air 8 hours a day. So the humidity and all those changes, which made the balls gummy. A couple people have complained about skidding, not very many. I'm very happy with the balls. And some of these people that start making these demands, they don't understand the history of why we're using these balls. Try dealing with Aramith. You'll know real quick why we're using them. Now, Aramith's gone through some changes. They have a new company, new ownership. But this thing got in motion 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not going to apologize because I think they're a good ball. And that's what we're using for 4 years. You know?
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Encourage your convictions. Take your lumps. Number 2, if Jason dismantles Mike DeShane, will he get a chance at Shane?
I'd love it.
But if he wants one, I don't think he's ready.
I don't think he's ready either.
Considering, I could be wrong. We'll see what Jason thinks. Maybe, I think,
I know who I want.
I don't think that's probably, that's not, we can get into structure later. We don't have time tonight. Next time maybe. Considering the bonus ball ABP fiascos, will Archer be welcome back to TAR? I don't have a real problem with Johnny personally at all. I mean, I've talked to him, when he was here in Vegas, he came to the studio. We sat down and had a conversation, and I'll be more than happy to sit down and talk to him about anything he wants to talk about. It's not, my problem is with the leadership and the organizations that he's representing and being held up as a leader of.
And being accountable.
Yeah, and the fact that,
Sorry.
Yeah, to me, that's the biggest
He's
issue.
a hell of a pool player.
Yeah. And I respect his ability, and I respect him as an athlete, and what he's done in the game. I have a lot of problems with things that have been done on his watch when he's been, at the head of things. And I think I think things that he has been involved in, now whether how much,
Well, call a spade a spade.
He's a public face of it. Okay.
Yeah,
he was the Pied Piper for bonus ball, 100%.
And but he's just the front man for ABP, and somebody needs to go back and look.
And I don't think Johnny, maybe a lot of people don't view it the way I view it. I certainly don't think Johnny views it the way. I think Johnny views it like he's just trying to do the best he can, and if shit doesn't go right, well, it's not really his fault because he didn't really have a lot to work with. That's not the way I view things.
And you and I agree.
But so that's a long way to say, if the right opportunity came along and Johnny was interested and was willing to play, I would have no problem with him playing on TAR if it made sense for everybody involved.
He beat Shane and Boosty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question is, would Johnny ever want to come back to TAR? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he would. Like I said, I'm more than willing to sit down and talk to the guy, and I'll go out to dinner with him, and we'll have a conversation. And, but I'm not going to just, not say my opinion because I'm worried maybe this guy won't come back and I won't get a payday, So I think, I think Johnny's a fantastic player and definitely one of the best ever
20
Americans, without a doubt. He's a phenomenal player. I think his tenure as trying to be a leader is going to tarnish his legacy a little bit, at least for the first, for the people that were around to kind of see it. I don't know. I think the guy's trying best he can, but at the same time,
he needs to stay out of politics.
Yeah. At the same time, I don't know what the answer is. I know that whatever it is, what's gone in the past is not it. So I don't know. Long way to answer that, but completely respect Johnny as a player, no doubt about it. as a leader. I think he tried the best he could, but like a lot of people, it just, it's not getting done. What else we got?
I don't know, man. You can read the AZ
Didn't
forums.
wonder Marie's husband. The Western BCA is having an open tournament during the Lincoln City, Oregon event, October 16 to 17.
They're doing a Grand Masters thing. It's
4,000 added to the men's, 3,000 to the women. Limited field of 32. Oh, that's cool.
32 and 24 with a fairly low entry. It's patterned after our Grand Masters. I'm not sure how that's going to affect things. I read that post and I know the fellow and I'm sorry I forgot your real name. Rick Jones of Bad Boys does not bring 200 tables up there. He brings 80.
Okay.
So
another one. I used
it's
to
a
be
good
rich. I would like to know what was the impetus for seeking a new ball manufacturer. What was wrong, if anything, with Aramith? They have sponsored the sport for decades. What is Diamond's business relationship with this new Cyclop company? How does this relationship affect tournament sponsorship? Thanks, you.
I can give 2 seconds, but I don't want to be bad-mouthing. First of all, Aramith makes an exceptional ball. Cyclop makes an exceptional ball. Weight-wise, weight tolerances, what we've checked is the Cyclops are a touch tighter as far as weight discrepancies. They're within a gram, and sometimes the Aramiths are within 2 grams. The roundness I can't really speak of because I don't have the equipment to test them. I'm quite confident they're both about the same. My only beef with Aramith, and it's not with the current ownership with Aramith, but my only beef with Aramith was their response, because there wasn't any. You could write them a question, a real legitimate question, never get a response. And their sponsorship of the industry has been, it's not anywhere near what you think it is.
No.
I mean, they sponsor, they give you product.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Simonis did get on board with us for the Shane DVD, and that's why you'll see their logo on the tar
Simonis
page.
is a great company because they put their money where their mouth
And
is.
Simonis owns Aramith now.
No, they own half of it.
Oh, okay.
So they bought half of it, and one of the guys that owned half of it before. So you still have the same kind of management team in place. Now, and Simonis is the North American distributor. And I'll tell you, Simonis was well aware of the issues. This Cyclop thing has been about a 4 or 5 year project.
Right, it hasn't. People think it's just overnight. Yeah, it didn't work like that.
And it just and Aramith had a monopoly. I'll tell you a story on Aramith. I went to the Philippines one time. I believe it was, oh man, I think it was like 05. I'm gonna guess. And at that point, Aramith Diamond was paying Aramith balls the wholesale, and prices have skyrocketed. Let's say $100 a set. I could buy the same identical set for $45 in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But I couldn't export them to the U.S.
So they were really the same balls.
Oh, they're identical. No, it's just that they sold them for $45 in the Philippines. They charge $100 in the U.S.
Yeah.
That's a little slimy.
No, I mean that's market. You charge what the market will bear.
Yeah. So, but I'm not knocking the quality of any of them. And everybody, some of these people are coming up. Well, the pros weren't using the Cyclop ball. No, we use the Measle ball because of TV. Because you have a streaming table, so all the tables have to use the same equipment. That's why we use the Measle ball. I personally don't like the Measle ball, but we use it on if it's anything where tar's involved. I think the red circle is probably the best cue ball ever made because the surface is harder, but it's not as good as it used to be.
Okay, cue ball. Let's slow it down there before we get off a new tangent.
Okay.
To Mark, you posted in AZ last week you might consider taking 2 years off. Why? That was Cool Cat 9 Lives.
Tired.
Yeah. I didn't see that. Are you really going to take 2 years off?
No, I'm not going to really take 2 years off.
Awesome.
No, we're going to deal with people we want to deal with. That's why we're not doing 96-man fields.
I agree.
I mean, see, anybody that works in this industry, it's just no good.
No, it's too hard.
It's too hard.
I tell you what makes it really hard.
And you're not appreciated.
Yeah.
And they go on Facebook and say,
you suck.
The ball's skidded, the table's dirty, this and that. Well, bullshit. If the table's dirty, why don't you come up and tell us it's dirty? And it wasn't dirty. So, give me a break. Jeez.
All right, now you got you all wired up.
No, listen, and I'll tell you what. Standing offer to somebody that's really an active member, and Cool Cat 9 Lives is, you get your way out here. Next year for our tournament, I'll give you the room. You have to share it with somebody. You come out, you work with us. I'm not paying you. I might pay you minimum wage, whatever. And you get to learn what some of this stuff is like. Somebody that really has an interest and really cares. You can come out and sit next to me in my office for a week, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to tear your hair out. I promise you. You know, so.
Anybody that wants to intern for TAR next July, give me a call.
Yeah, see?
I will hook you up.
Yes.
We'll get you a hotel room.
Yeah.
And I will buy all your food, and you will get a first-hand look
at what we go through.
And all you've got to do is volunteer about 11 days of your time.
But really, this could be fun. We could actually get some really talented people that want to learn, because we don't just sit up here and spout this crap out. It's emotion. And, man, after a while, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get a guy that's playing in the finals at the bar table and he wants to boycott the thing because it's going to cost him $7, he's going to win the minimum of $3,000, and he's going to bitch about $7. And we all know who I'm talking about, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. A good one. Hey, Justin? Yeah.
Hey, man, I was a guy who said I thought the table should be open.
Yeah, well.
I went to you in the very beginning of that tournament. I don't know if you remember.
I do.
That was before you fell out and went to the hospital like a pussy for like a week.
I know. That's the easiest tournament I ever ran.
Yeah.
I was in ICU for 6 days.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all right. I think
Lord.
we're going to wrap it up. May be back next Thursday. I don't know. You're gonna be. What are you doing this weekend? You're going to
going to
Phoenix?
Arizona.
Yeah.
I was going to play. I'm not sure if I'm going to. I played in this tournament. Mark Estes, our local guy here, we did a tournament the other day. You're going to love it. Quadruple elimination.
Yeah.
And it was through Paul Schofield out of some of his ideas. The guy has
Don't
spent
get
a
off
lot
on
of time.
tangent. We're at an hour and 21 minutes.
It's
Come on
interesting.
now.
It's interesting.
Let's go.
Call
Get
me.
to the point.
Call me. It was great.
All right, guys.
Listen, thank you very much. Hey, listen.
TAR 36.
TAR 36.
Yep. And also keep an eye. I wanted to have it done this week. I'm still working on some compression stuff to get.
Yeah.
Because we have to pay for storage. Even like we buy it in 50 gigabyte chunks. So if like right now the DVDs that I've got a couple of them uploaded that aren't live yet for the SVB1 thing. They're like 2.6, 2.7 gigabytes per disc. I'm working on trying to get that down to like 1.5. If I can do that, that will, number one, make it easier for you to download the files and manage them and have something to do with them. Also, it will allow us to get more content up in the same amount of space.
Well,
so
get with
anyway, I'm working on that, but coming soon. And I
coming
think
soon.
that's it, man. Next Thursday? Are we gonna do? You
It's
gonna
up
come
to
on
you.
here and bitch for another hour next week? Or
No,
what are you gonna do?
maybe next Thursday. We'll see. Maybe, but if not next Thursday, then the next Thursday.
Okay. All right. So
Hey, listen. Thanks everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
This
for
is
sure.
TAR Podcast 43.
43.
We're fast approaching your age.
43. Yes.
Yes. Wow. That's scary.
Not 43 though. Not yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Where are we at?
We're done.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you for the responses and everybody sweating it live. Podcast will be up on YouTube in the morning.
And if you have any rooms that want to be a part of the American Billiard Club League, get in touch with me or Joe Tucker. I'm telling you, give this thing a shot. This has really got some potential. And the new season's getting ready to start in a couple weeks.
All right. You done with your commercials?
That's right.
All right, man.
Yes, sir.
Say goodnight, Mark.
Say goodnight, Mark.